Hello, my name is Ben Eggleton. I'm a professor at the University of Sydney. I'm director of CUDOS, and I'm here to talk very briefly to you about how to preside a session at a conference, which many of you will be asked to do at various stages in your career. Presiding a session is an important role. It's quite a responsibility, and it can make a real difference to the attendees at a conference in terms of their experience and how engaged they are in the conference and in the presentation. So you need to really prepare and make sure that the session you're presiding runs smoothly and really delivers the value to the attendees. And it can make an enormous difference to the attendees at a conference. So what are the key principles? Well, obviously, your primary responsibility is to make sure that session runs on time, to make sure the speakers have loaded their presentations, and to make sure the audio-visual is working well. So you should arrive at the session 5, 10, 15 minutes before the session starts and have a quick conversation with the speakers just to make sure everything's under control and their presentations have been loaded. And don't assume somehow that everything has been taken care of, because I can tell you it doesn't always happen like that. You need to check that the audio-visual is working. You need to check that the microphones are working, and in particular that the acoustics in the room is satisfactory. And in general, it is usually managed by staff at a convention centre, but often you'll be at a conference that will be not part of a convention centre, and in that case you might want to have a conversation with the speaker about speaking very loudly so that the audience really understands what's been said, and in particular at question time. So you've loaded the presentations, the first speaker has presented, and you're keeping that session to schedule so that you've flagged to the speaker that they have either a 15-minute session or a 30-minute session, of which 3 minutes or 5 minutes is for questions, and you flag the speaker a few minutes before the end of the presentation so that they wrap up on time and there's plenty of time for discussion. That's when the presider can really make an impact and difference on the experience for the attendees. So as presider, you now facilitate a series of questions from the audience, and you need to make sure that the audience speaks very clearly and potentially uses the microphone. But in general, it's a very good idea to ask the speaker to repeat the question, repeat the question, repeat the question, so that everyone hears the question. And there usually are 3 or 4 questions, and then you make sure that the session wraps up on time. Now, sometimes you'll be presiding a session and there won't be any questions, so you need to make sure that you yourself, as the presider of the session, have a question. And when you ask that question, please make sure the audience can hear you ask the question. I've seen plenty of presiders who get into a bit of a personal conversation with the speaker that nobody else can hear, and that's a really unsatisfactory experience for the audience and for the attendees. Then, of course, you need to make sure the session is on time, it wraps up. Often you will be asked to report some of the administrative aspects of that session so that the conference or the society will want to know who indeed presented and how many people were in the room may be asked of you, and that information should be provided to the conference chairs, and that's usually arranged and relatively straightforward. The session wraps up, you thank the audience, you send everyone off for coffee, and if you've done a good job, I'm confident that someone will come up to you and thank you for your efforts. They will appreciate your leadership and your efforts in facilitating good discussion, and as I said, it can really make a difference to the conference experience, and I wish you all the best and hope that you enjoy the conferences and that you can ask good questions and you can make sure the audio-visual really works well. Thank you very much.